Top of the day to you, whatever time of the day it may be. We welcome you in. It's Three Guys Before the Game, episode number 504, title, Stomped by Sooners. Stomped by Sooners. That was not fun. We're here to talk about it, break it down. The Dean is in the chair. That's Hoppy Kercheval. El Senatore is ready. He has studied the analytics of the game. Anything coming out of this? Of anything? Well, we'll find out. Three Guys brought to us by Comax Business Systems, keeping West Virginia's business data safe, secure, and efficient for 25 years. They're the dudes when it comes to business equipment and managing your IT services. ComaxWV.com. Three Guys brought to us by GoMart. GoMart.com is the place where you can get your rewards card. Get that card and you're going to get all kinds of savings, food and fuel, triple rewards points on Tuesdays and Saturdays. Go for good times, go for GoMart. Three Guys brought to us by Lou Wendell Marine Sales in St. Albans. They sell family fun. Visit LouWendellMarineSales.com. Our Three Guys special coming up later in this episode. And coming up in just a bit, spreads on stats. Brad breaks down the numbers, the analytics. Who better to handle your numbers than the Conley CPA Group, providing value beyond the numbers. Do you need that type of help? Visit Conley CPA Group. Been in business since 1985 here in the state of West Virginia. Business all over the state, surrounding states. They do so much than just file those returns. They provide value beyond the numbers. It's Conley CPA Group. All right, let's jump in. Not a great weekend to be a Mountaineer, wherever you may be. West Virginia loses in basketball on Friday to Monmouth, and then loses to Oklahoma Saturday night. Final regular season meeting between the two, 59-20, the final score.
Women beat Pitt. That was
I was going to get to that. That's fine. You do put a cherry on the on something. Mark Kellogg, the new head women's basketball coach at West Virginia, went up to Pitt and absolutely barnstormed. They were up by as many as 19. Did you look at the box at all?
Thanks for having us.
Did you look at the box?
Depends on what you're going to ask.
Well,
yes.
They, he said when he came in, he was going to use some pressure defensive tactics there.
Turnovers?
Yeah. Go ahead. Have you not looked?
I have not looked. Obviously, it was high.
It was a high number. Yeah, high number.
A high number would be like 22, 23.
Yeah. Well, take 23 and add 5.
Ooh, that's a lot.
That's a lot of turnovers. 28 turnovers in a 40-minute game. Pretty good. So congratulations to the WV women. They now are 2-0 on the young season, and gonna be fun. You think he was laying in the weeds when he came in here on our show? Kind of like, yeah, we'll see how we put pieces together. We'll kind of.
I think he was in pretty early. I don't think he knew exactly what he had yet.
Remember, he didn't have any games.
He did have to get games.
He didn't have any games. Like, well, we're still trying to put this kind of like a high school. Like, yeah, we're still trying to see if Chartiers Valley will come down and play with us. But they have a schedule, and they got a team. I've watched him practice now, and he is what we thought he was. He's really good.
Yeah.
He's really good. So good. And as we record a few hours before, Coach Dan Stratford and the WV men's soccer team, tough challenge. I mean, you're going to try to win your league championship, Sunbelt, and you have to do it on foreign turf. You're going to have to, well, not really foreign. It's in West Virginia, but it's in Huntington and WVU and Marshall for the Sunbelt World Championship.
You think Marshall's? The Herd's lying in wait there for that one?
Yeah, I don't think they were happy with how things went here in Morgantown. So we'll see. And I don't follow it religiously, but I guess whoever wins is going to be the 1 seed in the NCAA tournament
and have home pitch advantage. Probably.
Home pitch advantage.
Right, Brad? I think.
Sounds that way.
Okay.
Yeah, big one.
Also, coming up on the podcast a little bit later on, our announcement when we get to textual healing over at episode800.com, our elves are working feverishly to get our holiday shopping cart ready for its debut coming up on Wednesday.
16-hour days.
Yeah, and we've got new
No
items.
overtime.
New items. All right, so let's jump into the deal, man. West Virginia goes into Norman last night on the fuel of a couple of wins over UCF and then against BYU. Played its best game of the season against BYU last week. Rolled the Cougars 37-7. So you go into Norman and you say, okay, let's do this. Let's take a swing. You know the odds are against you. I mean, the line literally was double figures. It was 12 or 13 points. You score on your first drive.
Looked good doing so.
You looked really smooth. And you say, like, okay, we came here to ball this Saturday night. They get it. They score. It's 7-7. The problem is that every time they got it, they scored. And West Virginia stopped. And so by halftime, it's 31-14. Oklahoma tags 2 more on in the third quarter, 2 more on in the fourth quarter. West Virginia scores just 6 more points the rest of the way. And it's 59-20. It leaves you with a lot of emotion, and it leaves you bummed out because, again, you knew that you were the prohibitive underdog. You knew that you had never won there. You knew that on average, game notes from Oklahoma showed that they had averaged 47 points per game against West Virginia. So, okay. But you still thought, okay, this is your best chance to go in there and legitimately compete. And it never happened. They got boat raced. So a lot to pull apart here before next Saturday, Cincinnati, last home game, then Baylor the following week. So we'll get into all of that. All right, Mr. Hoppy, fire away. We have not discussed.
We missed our pre-session planning meeting,
Which we never
this
did.
morning.
Yeah.
2 words come to mind: surprised and disappointed. Start with surprised. Is Tony? You laid it out. I was really shocked at how West Virginia played. I mean, Oklahoma, you wondered what you were going to get because they'd lost a couple games. Would they be into it? And they were ready to go. They were angry. They played inspired. They were ready to go. And then West Virginia simply was not. Worst game of the year. So that to me was surprising. And in all phases. I mean, the line got dominated offensively and defensively. Receivers for Oklahoma were wide open. You couldn't run the ball. Garrett Green had probably his worst game. So just all phases just were off. That was surprising. And then disappointing because we talked a lot about Brad going there and saying, you have an opportunity. Here's an opportunity. And try to make the most of it, and you simply didn't. You squandered the opportunity, and that's disappointing.
Yeah, I think that's well said by both of you. I was wrong on that. I'm with you, Tony. I thought it was going to be tough to walk in there and get a win, but I thought there were some matchup things you had in this game that gave you a real chance to go in there and compete and make it a game, and you just didn't. And we'll get into a bunch of different aspects, but guys, it really starts in 2 areas, and it's the lines on both sides of the ball. The offensive line got no push. We haven't seen that all year. You had no ability to run the football. Haven't seen that all year. The defensive line got pushed around as well, and that Oklahoma team did whatever it wanted. You didn't get pressure on Dylan Gabriel and let him stand back there like it was 7-on-7 practice, which gave the defensive backs no chance. And it looked, like the defenses back in the 2013 era when guys were just running wide open. So started up front on both sides. You got manhandled in those areas. And guys, when that happens, it really doesn't matter what else you do or try and do if you're not winning either line of scrimmage, especially this version of WVU. That's where it's made its hay. When it wins games, it's because the offensive line is clearing a path and the offense gets clicking, and the defense is applying pressure, allowing then the linebackers to go to work and helping the D-backs. You just didn't get it. You just didn't get it, and that was pretty evident right from the start.
So where does it leave West Virginia with 2 to go? Well, the bad news, if you want to add on bad news, is that C.J. Donaldson was injured in that game.
Mm-hmm.
And that looks to be an ankle. And you wait to find out if it's conventional ankle or high ankle. And if it's the latter, then there's a very good chance that you don't see him for the next 2 games. So that will require some changes. And obviously, it's one of those deals where you have to get back now and figure out exactly why and how all of that happened. Now, skill-wise, Oklahoma, you can say what you want. And you can say, how does Drake Stoops catch that ball? But, like, he's a really good player. And, he's probably number one in the league now in catches. So, and I know you're curling your eyes. He's not going to be an NFL guy. But what I'm saying is the way that they use him, let's just say this. He's a playmaker.
He had a great game. West Virginia has to own that. That's on West Virginia defensive backs to own it. I'll give you a number. You ready? 30% of his season receiving yards came last night. 30%. Nearly one-third of his season total came against you last night. He hadn't done that all year. Oklahoma State, he had a nice game, 134 yards as well. So his last two games, he's really come on. They used him tremendously well. They did. Why aren't you up on him? Get up on him. See if he can beat you deep. See if he can run by you. You know they're going to throw it underneath to him. You know he's going to cut to the inside of the field. How do you not shut that off? You got to shut that off. Dude went for 30% of his yards in one game. That can't happen, man. It just can't happen. So that's not our funny ha-ha with all due respect. I mean, he's made himself into a very good Division I player. You shouldn't give up 30% of some guy's season receiving yards to him. You just simply shouldn't. You got to find a way to guard where he's going and make him do something he doesn't want to do. See if he can run by you. Get up on him. If he runs by you, so be it. He's getting big chunks anyway. I don't understand that.
And to go back to the other point, Brad, is that Dylan Gabriel, no pressure on him. So he's back there. He's got time. You can't guard them forever, even though the defensive backs had a bad game, but you can't guard those guys forever. So Dylan Gabriel had time. And there's Stoops, getting open. And Steve Dunlap, who coached defense for years and years, is on our coverage, was just beside himself at defensive guys being out of position. When a receiver, Tony, when an Oklahoma receiver goes out, when there's no man in the middle with your defense, and then the receiver for Oklahoma runs out and cuts to the middle of the field, if that defensive back is out of position and not taking away the inside, then the guy's going to be open. Then it's just a simple pitch and catch. Mm-hmm. So Dunlap was beside himself on how the defense was lining up and executing last night.
Yeah, and that was one of Neil's biggest things that they had to do because of their tempo. He said one of the big things, we have to line up. We've heard that, going back to last year. What'd they work on this spring? Getting in alignment. And still, here we go. What is that, game 10? Never were able to get aligned properly, consistently, and it led to those gaping holes. I would imagine when you guys were watching it on TV, there were those times where it was one of those nights where they're catching balls and there's no defensive player in the screen.
That's what I just said in the open. That's literally what I just said. It was like 2013. There's guys running with nobody else in the picture, just big giant green spaces of grass.
And bad tackling.
And then you didn't tackle. And I also was surprised you couldn't take more advantage of that Oklahoma offensive line. And listen, credit Oklahoma. They were taking a beating for 2 weeks, and everybody was on them, killing that offense that they couldn't do anything, killing their play calling, killing their personnel. They came out and just flat played. That offensive line did a great job. It won the night against West Virginia. West Virginia had no ability to get home on that, and then that left those defensive backs in positions they didn't want to be in. So credit to Oklahoma, but that's an incredibly disappointing. And Neil said it afterwards. That borders on an embarrassing performance for both sides, but especially the defense there that just didn't give you a chance. The offense didn't do enough to win it and had a bunch of issues that we'll get into, but the defense never gave you a chance to be competitive in that one.
Brad, not only borders on embarrassment, here is Neil Brown's quote, "I am embarrassed."
Well, there you go.
I'm embarrassed about what we put on tape. That's his words.
Mm-hmm. All right.
So it was. And Tony, obviously you called the game. There were times last night you're watching, you go, ooh, I am a little bit embarrassed you're watching this.
Yeah. Absolute skunk job.
Yeah. And we were, we're watching, we're there all day. We're watching football. And Oklahoma State goes to UCF. And we're chortling, right? Like, look at that. They didn't show up. My gosh, that's embarrassing for Oklahoma State. And boy, a couple hours later.
Yeah. Yeah, there's no question. No question about it. What a crazy day. So, now in the standings, there is a cavalcade of schools all locked up here as we get ready for this final.
Which is what we expected all year. Yeah, that's what you thought you'd get in this league. And I think that result shows it, that you go into UCF, who I still think's a better team than what their record indicates, And they showed that against Oklahoma
Yeah.
State, a team that had been rolling, looked like it was in the Big 12 championship, looked like Ollie Gordon's getting an invite to New York and all that. What do we say? It's a week-to-week business for the most part. You got to show up. And Oklahoma State didn't. West Virginia did not either and got roped.
All right, you ready to do this thing that we call Spreads on Stats? Are you ready?
Looking forward to this.
You prepared? You good?
Yeah.
You sure?
Yeah, let's go.
So I checked the numbers. We'll just go right to the numbers. Here comes a heater. Let's jump into the analytics portion of the show. Ready? 5, 4, 3, 2.
Spreads on Stats is brought to us by the Conley CPA Group. They provide complete service, public accounting, and consultation. They do provide value beyond the numbers. How so? Well, they pride themselves in providing more than numbers and getting that stuff done, and this dot here and this dot there, and the IRS Form 106732W5. They do all that stuff. They take a client-specific approach to understand what you need in your business, and then they help. They consult, audit and assurance, tax planning and preparation, consulting, advisory, and they also can outsource your accounting and your CFO services. Visit them, the Conley CPA Group. So I would imagine the numbers are as bad as our eyes saw it in real time.
Yeah, there's some disheartening numbers. I always say this in the wrap-up. A lot of times you're not uncovering things, but you're just getting stats that back up what your eyes saw. So let's go through a couple of the big picture ones. This won't surprise any of you, but that was West Virginia's worst run blocking grade of the season. No shock.
Yep.
That's the second worst coverage grade of the season for West Virginia. So those two things stood out. Couldn't run it, couldn't cover. That's probably not going to go well for West Virginia when those things happen. Let's dive into some other specifics. And one other thing here, too, we should have talked about this before we got into this spread segment here, but two really big moments I thought in that game that maybe you don't win anyway, but I thought these sealed your fate. You couldn't get any points off the muff punt, right? You caught a break right there that really would have flipped the momentum, and you had the ball, and not only do you not score 7, but then you miss a field goal, which hasn't happened very often this year, get no points out of that. And then that can't punch it in and score from inside the 5 when you have 4 shots. I think you can still argue there were at least one of those plays where you're probably over the goal line, but neither here nor there. Those two big moments in that game I thought were really emblematic of what happened throughout the game and really kind of told the story. Let's go through some of this as a mashup of our review from Thursday, what we said some keys were, and then backing into some other numbers that were surprising. What's the key on our defensive side of the ball? I lead with it every single week, and it continues to be the one consistent number with this group. On passing downs, can you keep the other team in passing downs more than 30% of the time? We look right to that, and that's told the story in nearly every game this season. If the opponent stays under 30%, it's going to turn into a loss. When you keep them in passing downs more than 30% of the time, it's turned into a win, and that's generally because you've handled the running game and you've made the other team a little more one-dimensional. The only time that hasn't held true was at UCF. You held them under 30%, or they were under 30% passing downs. You still got the win. Last night, same thing. OU was in passing downs just 27% of the game. They ran the ball successfully when they needed to, threw it when they wanted to, so that number continues to hold true. Gabriel, as we mentioned, just had way too much time. Sean Martin had that one sack early. PFF had some more pressure numbers for West Virginia than I thought. They're pretty generous with pressures. It certainly didn't feel like that. There were some late where West Virginia got within a step or two of Gabriel, but not enough to affect him. So just not enough making him uncomfortable. And we said going in, he may not be the Heisman caliber guys they had during that stretch, that historic stretch. He's a really good quarterback, and he was delivering. He had some high passes, some missed passes. He also delivered some strikes and was just too good last night for you to handle.
He was tranquil in the pocket. In other words,
Yeah.
he was back there just kind of like he was just dealing.
Nonplussed, wasn't
Like
he?
I'm just kind of like, okay, what do I got here? I'll throw it. Nah, I think I'll take off. I mean, he was in complete control. He was being a field general, right?
One of the things we talked about on Thursday when it came to the game within the game, and we were trying to look for a part where West Virginia could win a battle, we went to first down, and we talked that OU defense had given up the third fewest yards on first down rushes, right? That had been a key for West Virginia. Can you run it on first down and start to stay on schedule, get ahead of the sticks, and open up that playbook? But you're going against a defense that was very good on first down rushes. So that was the third fewest yards on first down rushes for OU, going against West Virginia that had the second most rushing yards on first down. Great matchup, Hoppy, right? That's what you want to see. Strength on strength. Who wins that strength? West Virginia on first downs, 0.2 yards per carry in the first half when that game was decided. Let me say that again. 0.2 yards per carry on first down in the first half. Ball game. You didn't win that matchup. Conversely, this wasn't part of the handicap, but OU win on first down carries, 6.8 yards per carry. So there you go.
Done.
They're sitting in 2nd and 3 most of the time. You're sitting in 3rd and 10 at best. That ball game, it's over. For the game, West Virginia ran it just for 3.3 yards per carry. Just can't win. Conversely, OU first down, just yards per play, not just per carry. OU first down for the game, 8.8 yards per play. So they won first down on you. And it wasn't particularly close. Again, that backs up what you saw. Go to the other part of that, third down. West Virginia had been very good on third down. They came in as the 3rd best third down rushing team in the country. Okay? West Virginia had 5 carries for 1 yard on third down in the first half. That was going against an OU defense that was 9th in the league in third down rushing. So first and third down, you just got dominated. You couldn't win. So those are big problems.
Which leads to, when you hear the numbers, it just makes you more angry.
Yeah.
It just makes you more frustrated. It just makes you go like, what are you doing?
One other thing, we did talk about that matchup, talked about the seam route there, Cole Taylor, Preston Fox. You got 2 of them. Devin Carter had that 32-yard gain. He had another one to Clement in the end zone that was wide open. Great call. It was there for a touchdown. Got to Clement right in his hands. Interference coming over the top. So you had 2. You needed more than that. You couldn't take advantage of it. You just hit a couple of them. So those are kind of some of the big numbers there, guys.
You know, again, I refer to Dunlap because he sees it so clearly, and he was talking about how, particularly in the first half, that prior to the snap, Oklahoma was doing a good job shifting their defensive line, and West Virginia's offensive line just never figured it out, and just couldn't get any movement up front. And also, what's his name? Stutzman. Stutzman's a dude. It was, I mean, having him back helped.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't think
he was all over the place.
I mean, it was a kind of night where you couldn't say one thing or another changed anything, but having Stutzman in there, I think, helped a lot for Oklahoma.
8 tackles, 2 tackles for loss for Stutzman, led the team in tackles.
Yeah, he's a dude.
Hey, Brad, this is for you. Because when West Virginia got down on the goal line, couldn't score, but Green thought he was in. West Virginia thought that Green was in, but you didn't have a camera angle, right? There was no. You could not legitimately overturn that, and that wouldn't have changed the game. But he couldn't legitimately overturn it because it didn't have a good angle.
Because you had 9 camera angles, but none down the goal line, which is just unfathomable to me as I went bananas on our broadcast.
Neil Brown said, quote, "That's not a knock on officiating. Here we are playing a nationally televised game, and we don't have a goal line camera. Not a single goal line shot, whether the ball got over or not, which is amazing to me." It's like Brad was channeling Neil Brown or vice versa last night.
Brad said it first. I was doing it in real time.
Yes, you were. You were doing it in real time. You had a meltdown.
I don't quite understand why that is so hard, and I don't want to hear the bull crap. I mean, just put a freaking camera. It's mandatory. You put a freaking camera on the goal line. I don't care if Fox, Cat, Skunk, whatever network's doing the game, you put a camera straight down the goal line. I mean, it's not that freaking hard.
How big is, I mean, not in this game necessarily, but how big is that? That's the biggest thing is whether or not you get in the end zone.
Yeah, and again, it had nothing, absolutely zero to do with the outcome of the game, but regardless, like, can we just get that part of it fixed? I don't care that they didn't have the production crew, they didn't even have a sideline reporter last night. So these networks, you know, sometimes they'll pull back on numbers of cameras and things like that, but it should be mandatory. We put goal line cameras. You shoot a laser right down that thing. It's not that freaking hard. I don't care if anyone's – don't tell me it's hard. Don't tell me it's hard.
It's not. It's lazy and inexcusable. And you're right. You still don't win that game because you weren't stopping anybody, so I get it. But that also would have made it a little more interesting if he's in or you get in right there to put a little pressure on them. It could change the course of it. But it's just that should just be that's a blanket statement. That's not just a last night game. No. To not have that camera available, especially when it's Big Fox, I don't know how they get away with that. I don't know how that's lazy and inexcusable.
I mean, if it's ESPN Plus, you're lucky you got an upshot on the thing. So I mean, don't worry about that. But I mean, but you're right. I mean,
But if TV's the whole deal now, if that's all we're going to worry about is TV, and TV execs are going to make all the decisions, then make the friggin' TV thing good. Make it really good. Put a camera there. They showed 7 different angles, none of them the one angle that you actually need.
Right.
Anyway, now we'll get a million texts saying we're complaining about that.
No, but, I mean, it's just something.
Again, we've been clear. It's not about significantly changing the game. It's about the macro of being able to determine whether somebody's in the end zone or not. And I don't know if he was or not. You couldn't tell. Looked like he might have been, but Tony, you couldn't tell. No. You watched the replay.
No, because it was behind. It was behind.
Or in front.
Or in front, depending on which way you're looking at. You know, this is, again, to go off on a harangue here.
Uh-oh.
You know, I talked to Ren last week about the transmitters in the helmets. Mm-hmm. And, like, everyone's like, yeah, we need to put transmitters in the helmets. But they say, well, it's not as easy as you think it would be, because if you put a transmitter in the quarterback's helmet, the company that makes the helmets, they're not manufactured for that. So you have a liability issue that if you put something in there, that it potentially could impact the amount of safety that it provides to the person wearing the helmet. And I totally get that, but that's the reason why this thing is going slower. And he says probably going to be 2 or 3 years. My point to that is, well, wait a second. Every single Sunday, the NFL has them in their helmet, right? So, like, can we just go to the NFL and say, who exactly does that? We need that. This is what we want to do. Because don't tell me it's a money issue, and don't tell me the camera's a money issue. You know, there's too much money that is being spent in this world, and money exchanging hands, to say, like, no, we're going to have wireless helmets. Don't care what it costs. I want a camera on every single goal line in every Power 5 game. I want it there. That's just a standard rule. That's what it is.
There's also a technology, instead of helmet, you can do wristband.
Yeah, you could. I mean, I guess you could. Apple Watch? Is that what you're going with?
No,
there?
I'm just saying. I looked into it because of the whole Michigan cheating scandal.
Yeah.
And you wonder, like, why is there still a guy on the sideline, like, going like this? I mean, the technology is there for these very things we're talking about.
It's silly. I mean, last night Oklahoma went with black sails from the Pinta, the Nina, and the Santa Maria from Columbus. They're putting those big ones. I'm saying this is where we are.
It's absurd. I mean,
anyway,
real quick, let's do another number here, real quick. And again, backs up what you saw, that West Virginia had real trouble running inside. That also has not been an issue for most of this year. But if you take the gaps, it's like the left A gap to the left of the center, between the center and the guard, and then move it over on the other side of the center between the center and the right guard, and then the right guard and the tackle. Okay, you ready? So those kind of 3 gaps. Mm-hmm. West Virginia ran it 15 times for 41 yards in that area. The A gap to the left, just 2.3 yards per carry. The A gap to the right, just 1 yard per carry. And then the right guard gap, just 3.8 yards per carry. So that just the middle of the line, there was just nothing there. Oklahoma did a great job of winning those battles and plugging that up.
We don't want to pile on individuals by name, so just do this generically. Based upon the numbers that you've provided, I would imagine that some of the individual grades were like, whoa.
There were a couple. Yeah, there were a couple that were like, oh my gosh. It was really more in the collective that you got it, though. You know, you got stuffed on 27% of your runs. That's what they do. This team is built to run. It can't get stuffed that much.
Yeah, that was the big story coming to the game. Oklahoma is the best, quote-unquote, stuffed team.
Right.
And you said, okay, here's the matchup. West Virginia's offensive line, can they counter that? Answer, no, did not. Not on that night. Not on that night.
Yes, but and first down was really where it was important. So Oklahoma came in, what we talked about on Thursday, came in as the second most run stuffs in the league, but you were going against a West Virginia team that was the second best stuff rate offense in the league. It just didn't get stuffed. So that's what I mean. Strength on that first down run against run defense, and Oklahoma won it going away. It wasn't even close. You didn't even win part of the battle. So that was ball game right there. You don't have to go any further. This offense isn't designed to be in second and third and long. It's just not. It's got to stay. What was one of the keys before the game? We talked about staying on schedule,
yes,
right?
And that's
never why
were.
When it is, then you're not quite sure what West Virginia is doing to you. And you've got the whole playbook. You just didn't have the whole playbook the other night. Couldn't do it.
And that puts you don't have the playbook, and that puts the whole playbook, and that puts Garrett Green in a tough spot. But also, again, I'm going to quote Neil Brown as Garrett had probably was worst game of the year. And Neil Brown said, Garrett's played really well most of the year, but tonight wasn't his best. The thing that irritates you is decision-making. I can deal with some of the errant throws, but on that series in particular, and just talk about a series where West Virginia didn't take advantage of that punt fumble. We had a couple of good plays, and sometimes when you see too much, he didn't see it very well. He'll learn to get better, et cetera, et cetera. So again, and what we talked about a lot was Garrett Green got a lot better at decision making as the season gone on, and just for whatever reason, and Green acknowledged that too. So, I mean, we can go on and on. Just everything went wrong. Everything went wrong last night. Oklahoma had a lot to do with that, but disappointing performance.
Here was another surprise to me, and we had talked about the Oklahoma offensive line. We've watched West Virginia play them before when it's been a historic group up front, where it's not one or two pros, it's 5 pros, and you're just thinking, oh my gosh, how do you do this? This didn't seem to be that kind of Oklahoma offensive line, yet their performance last night was like that. They averaged 8, almost 9 yards per play, which is right in line with some of those great offenses you've faced from Oklahoma. But here's part of the reasoning for that thinking. Going back and using Pro Football Focus's player grades and then filtering out for players that had played at least 100 snaps on the season, this was stunning to me in pregame. Oklahoma's top-graded offensive linemen heading in checked in at 21st overall in the Big 12, 21st best grade. They're top-graded linemen. West Virginia had 4 players graded in the top 16 with that same metric. So you would have thought, again, can you get some wins against that Oklahoma line? And you just didn't. You just didn't.
Do you remember who their best lineman was? It Guyton? Their best lineman didn't play last night. Their right side tackle, who's 6'7", like 720 pounds, is going to be an NFL guy, didn't play. They shelved him. Wasn't an injury, but he did something. So they moved their backup left tackle over to right tackle, and he went the whole game.
You know, we've talked going into this game, Tony, that maybe Oklahoma doesn't have the guys they normally do, but they still have guys, right? Yeah. I mean, it's still Oklahoma, so they still have guys, even if some of them don't stand out like they have historically.
No, I mean, the receivers, like, you can just tell. Now, yes, they caught the ball in stride wide open, but like Jaleel Farouk, Nick Anderson, those guys have wheels. They have wheels. When they catch that ball, it's a different level of speed. And it was a combination. It was just completely blah. You said Garrett didn't have his best game, no question. He didn't get any help on a couple of balls that he threw. You had some key drops, but just yuck. All right. 3 guys brought to us in part by Comax Business Systems. They are the deal when it comes to business equipment and other services right now. Question for business owners is your phone system dated and is it cooked? If so, Comax, with a great digital phone service offering to you that they'll come into your business, they will do a look, a review of what you have currently, and they will give you a proposal to bring you into this day and time when it comes to phone systems. From 1 line to 1,000 phone lines, they can take care of it. Comax's digital phone systems, competitively priced efficiently, will save you money. You can call Comax for a free price quote. They'll come in, check it out, plus obviously managing your IT services. All right, y'all ready for this one? Let's do this. Let's do this thing. Episode800.com. Episode800.com is our 3 Guys website. And coming up on Wednesday, we talked about it a little bit. We're getting ready for the holidays. We will unveil our holiday shop on Episode800.com. So what's that all mean? Well, new coffee. Folks over at right here, Mountaineer Roasting Company here in Morgantown has partnered with us for Game Day Grind. Really tasty coffee. It's a combination of chocolate, caramel, balanced light roast. Really good. If you liked our first iteration of coffees, now we go with Mountaineer Roasters. Just fantastic. Hoppy likes it so much, he takes it in IV tubes straight into his veins. Also, a new addition besides, we got a couple different things coming up in the site. Remember last episode and I talked about the popcorn. We got the popcorn sent to us.
Yes.
Nice lady in Savannah.
Yeah. MJ out of Savannah. That, by the way, that was excellent. Really good. Really good.
It really was. So, anyway, I said it'd be nice if we had our own
Yeah.
popcorn.
Yeah, it didn't take long, did it? Huh? We got that underway. You ask and you shall receive.
So
is this official? Are you announcing this?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So we're partnering with Mountaineer Popcorn. They're in Shepherdstown. Great family there. Aaron and Mike, husband and wife.
I know where that is. It's right on Main Street.
Yeah, well, sure it is. So they have worked with us.
Been there.
And they've created a flavor that we have endorsed called Mountaineer Munch. It is drizzled chocolate.
Ooh, I like that.
Chocolate popcorn with peanut butter drizzle.
Oh,
chocolate popcorn. Yeah,
great for the holidays.
Stocking
stuffer.
They've got unbelievable stuff there. So
perfect for the holidays.
We're happy to do that with Mountaineer Popcorn.
Great
Mountaineer
July
Munch
on a pontoon boat too.
It'll be a customized bag with the new Three Guys logo, and so it'll be great for
Valentine's
Day. Then the apparel. We've got
President's Day.
Easter, dropping new items with the Always West
Halloween.
Virginia connection.
Arbor Day.
The Always West Virginia connection has new items coming in, so that's all on the website. And soon to be announcing a project that we're going to partner with WVU's Cancer Institute. Great project to help folks and their families that are dealing with cancer. So that'll all be coming up November 16th. I guess. So I said 15, 16. Well, next time we do an episode, which will be
It'll be Thursday. So all those new items are available Thursday. Is that what you're saying for your holiday shopping? Give you some.
Yeah, we're
warning?
We're going to beat Black Friday. They think they can get ahead of us. No such thing. All right, so here we go into the texts. Again, we received too many to do all of them. I will try to give you a general theme and consensus, so if you do not hear your text read, don't get your feelings hurt. I have a very strong probability that your theme or your belief will be generated. And as you may imagine, there is outrage, there is despondency, there is pissed offness. Is that how we would say that probably?
Yeah, that works.
You
Go
get
with
what
it.
I'm saying.
Angst.
PO'd, whatever. There we go. Kevin from Cross Lanes, Three Guys, hello. Two things. First, am I the only one who dances alone wearing AirPods every time I hear textual healing, or just the only one who will admit it? Anyone on staff who can do the stats on that? Second, I've got an idea for the home win, saying as victors leave. Simply do a twist on the way, saying with nice having ya, and if it's special, win at hope you can come back soon. Let me get into that. So apparently I might have asked, hey, why don't you help us find something so when people are leaving the game that you can use instead of thanks for having us. And so I got like 62 million of those. Let me just read them all so we can just get that over with. Okay?
This is your home game, and you win, and you say to them.
Right.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it goes from thanks for coming out, better luck next time, thanks for coming, thanks for dropping by, y'all come back now you hear, hey, thanks for coming by, blah, 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 blah. So just a bunch of those. Whatever. I don't think we're going to solve anything here. Three Guys, basketball question. What, if any, path does Coach Eilert have to being head coach for the Mountaineers for the next few years? Before the latest personnel issues, it seemed that if he could get far enough in the NCAA tournament, he'd be really hard not to keep. With how things have developed, it seems that he could do an incredible job while winning fewer games. So far, this team and staff seems very easy to root for. Thanks a lot. Charlie from Richmond, who's from Clarksburg. Oh, I don't know, man.
They are easy to root for, but my goodness, it just seems like the headwinds. It started out with a headwind, now it feels a hurricane force almost.
Yeah, and you saw it the other night, and this is really not a surprise given the suspensions and the guys that aren't with you. And if Battle's not available to you, if Carissa, who is not available for these first 9 games, that changes the makeup of that team significantly. A Cook's another guy you counted on to play significant minutes. You're just not at a level without those guys that you thought you'd be at. Played basically 6 guys the other night. That's really hard. That's really hard at this level to play 6 guys, and you're just struggling to find a consistent offense. So until Carissa gets back, and 2, at least, I know it's a long shot to get Battle. I guess there's still some hope because it's not a definitive no on the appeal. But those things have changed the makeup of this team significantly from what it was expected to be.
Yeah, unfortunately, the realistic projection of what this roster will be for the rest of the season will be the addition of Kerr Carissa. To get Raekwon Battle eligible at this point would be a massive surprise. If that happens, it's early Christmas. If it doesn't happen, to be quite honest with you, that would be based upon the NCAA's recent rulings. That would be the expectation. So the only thing you know right now is Carissa comes back 7 more games from now.
You don't know situations because they don't release that, but Cal did just have a 2-time transfer approved at the end of this week. Cincinnati, on the other hand, had one denied. So there's at least a crack there, but one doesn't have anything to do with the other, the way the NCAA works.
Yeah, and again, everyone's always asking when. Well, you just don't know. They meet like once a week, whether they do yours or that day, you don't know. Normally the day after they meet, it comes out. So who knows, man? If it happens for Raekwon Battle, we'll do something special. Like we'll get a cake or something, and we'll toast because he's a dude.
Yeah, it would instantly change the makeup of this team.
Absolutely,
instantly.
Absolutely. Guy named Jan. I'm assuming it's a guy. I don't know. Jan in Chicago, known to my friends as Buckwheat. So he goes through this thing where he looks at the matrix of the Big 12 football schedule, 24 through 27. And he says, having lived with myself for many years, I know that I can at times attribute too much to too little. I'm really good, though, at reading between the lines. I'm curious as to what you guys think on the topic. So anyway, he took the matrix and he thinks that there's a conspiracy of some sort in the divisions. And he thinks in the future it'll be 2 Arizonas, Utah, BYU, Colorado, Baylor, and TCU, and Texas Tech. And then the next team on the matrix I call the Stragglers division. Houston, Oklahoma State, Cincinnati, Iowa State, UCF, and West Virginia. He thinks the only 2 remaining schools, Kansas and Kansas State, can constitute a pair in the Straggler division. So, yeah, dude, you think way too much. I didn't quite get the gist of that. After watching the Oklahoma scalping of the Mountaineers, I began to ponder the reality of our team situation. We, by any measure, are an average football team playing in a conference that's below average compared to years past. Our offensive line completely manhandled to the point that we looked like it was their first season together. I have not been a fan of our blocking scheme since Matt Moore arrived. We don't down block, which creates situations where more gifted athletes on the defensive line can dominate, which occurred last night. I'll be interested to listen to the stats on how our offensive line graded out. How do you have 4 downs from inside the 1 and you never use a lead blocker? If we don't make a change after the season, there's no reason to continue to spend the money I spend to purchase season tickets. Did I think we'd win last night? Absolutely not. But I did expect our team to compete at a high level. Yes, as we should. No matter how nice of a person you are, your main job is to perform and produce positive results in any job you have in your life. But after 5 years, we've not witnessed enough improvement to continue under the current staff. 7-5 or 6-6, right or wrong, is not good enough no matter how the hand you were dealt with from the start. And that text right there encapsulates the majority of others that won't be used tonight because there's just so many of them. But that kind of puts it all right there. Texter, why do we decide to convert Garrett to a pocket passer on game 10? He can't see over the lineman, offense or defense. We took his skills away. Texter, 3 words. Rodney Gallagher basketball. Probably not. I don't know if there'll be any intermingling of roster football players over to basketball, but I would think that Rodney's focus in the offseason will be football and will continue to try to get bigger, stronger. Texter, tough loss, I know, but I can't wait to hear Brad talk about Monmouth in 5 years and say, I think Xander Rice scored 88 points in that game in 2023.
Did feel like it. He was really good.
He went off.
Graduate transfer came in from Bucknell. The coach's son, King Rice's son, was excellent.
Mike in Parkersburg, hey, Scope, spreads Hoppy to the 3rd. Pre-game text alert. In the spirit of there's always a West Virginia connection, we're at the Love's truck stop about 10 miles out of Norman. I'm standing in line, go to the restroom, lady walks by, all in Oklahoma gear. I softly say, boo, Sooners. She turns and smiles and then starts to walk on. I said, did you see my shirt? She turns back and sees the flying WV. Then she laughs and adds, Hey, my father-in-law's family is from Huntington.
Of course he is.
Why wouldn't he be?
I just smiled back and said, sweetie, there's always a West Virginia connection. Pretty sure she didn't understand the history with that response, but me and my family had a good laugh about it when we got back in the car. And then there was, I think this is them. Yeah. So they were partying out there. Beautiful day in Norman. Texter, warning, pregame text. It's 5:59 p.m. And Oklahoma still sucks. I ventured away from the Kirchhoff for this one. Thought you might enjoy. So they sell a beer there in Texas called Oklahoma Sucks. Chris in Austin.
How did they get that licensed?
Well, I guess you could do that, couldn't you? You could do that.
I guess.
Could you do that with Pitt?
I mean, I don't know how that doesn't get shut down.
Well, why?
Negative connotation. You got to use. I mean, why wouldn't the state of Oklahoma at least, if it's not the university? It's pretty clear it's a university with the colors. I think you'd have a case there.
Be
or it's
better.
not an attorney, Hoppy.
Be better if it said. Be better if it said Oklahoma. Would be better on that. Texter, hey, three guys, let's have some real talk. I admire you defending the coach as you have. I truly do. But yet again, we lost to a better team. It's interesting how we lose to teams that are better than us, and we beat the teams who are worse. I believe we are going to finish 8-4, and even if we finish 7-5, what's the difference, honestly? We complain when the stadium only fills up 50,000. It's because average sucks. When you beat UCF and BYU, it's not enough to convince fans you are relevant again. I go to every home game, and expectations have continually gone down when you allow them to. Please let's make West Virginia football relevant again, but my most memorable years are when you beat the big dogs at their best. And that seems to be a consistent theme, that folks are unhappy that you have not had wins over teams that you are not supposed to beat.
Mm-hmm.
Even though, so how many times this year have they?
We have 3 this year.
3 this year.
3 or 6 are.
3 of the 6
right?
are. There's 6. Up until last night, they were 6-3. But I guess what they're saying is beat a ranked team, beat one that just like, I understand. I get it. I mean, what they're saying is beat an Oklahoma, signature wins, I guess is probably a best way to say
What was that stat last night on Oklahoma in the Big 12? They have more conference titles than they do home losses.
Correct. 14-13.
Yeah, so that's really hard. Greg had one Friday for us on Sportsline, and I'll mess this up, so don't bother texting. If I have it wrong, I'm in the ballpark. I think it was something ridiculous like West Virginia's 5-76 all-time on the road against ranked teams. That seems maybe the 5 parts low, but that was also a ridiculous out-of-balance stat. Hard to go on the road and beat ranked teams, regardless of
They have
what it is. Hard to do.
They have 14 league championships and 13 home losses in that same set of time.
Yeah.
And so I think, again, the majority of fans didn't expect a win. They wanted it not to be 59-20. If you're going to lose, they probably wanted it to be
35-30 something, yeah.
Precisely.
Or within that. I mean, Oklahoma was favored by 13, right? 13.5, 12, whatever it was. So be within the margin. Look, that game was wildly disappointing. I mean, no wonder. And Brad, you always say it's a week-to-week business. And last week you're like high-stepping because you played a team that is below average. You dominated them. You played well in all 3 phases. Oh, okay, right, looking pretty good.
What you do.
And
so now you flush this. So here's how you move forward. You flush this. You go out and you win 2 games over teams your favor. Then you got to look good in these last 2 weeks, and you finish with 8 wins. And you have to stair-step this team. You're not going to go from where you were to a top 10 team this year. You're going to have to keep building the thing. And if this team ends with 7 or 8 wins with a chance to go to a bowl game and win 8 or 9, I don't know how you can continue to complain about that unless you just want to complain about that. Now you got to take the next step. Then the next couple of years, you would expect that next step. Mm-hmm. Start competing for a Big 12 title.
Yeah, title.
I mean, I get the frustration. I really do. But also some of this just flame throwing every single time. You got to have some.
Well, you do, but people were, look, everybody was upset by last night.
Jeez.
Right?
Sure.
I mean, just were. I mean, that was.
Yeah,
it was bad.
I get it, and I totally get it, man. And no one's going to say stop being disappointed about that. Totally agree with you. Neil Brown said he was disappointed. Mm-hmm. If you can win 2 and get 8 and go see what you can do in a bowl game, even if you don't win a bowl game, you were predicted by the intelligentsia at 4.5. That was the over/under number.
Correct.
Okay, So would you like to have that win last night? Would you like to have, more impressive victories or exactly what we're looking for? Yeah, absolutely. It has to come. But to this point, at this season, it's going to be max 9, and hopefully that's what happens. And you will have doubled what you were expected to do, and then you go from there. I get it. Texter, Neil Brown had a great scripted first drive, but couldn't adjust. I understand you guys like what he has built here, but he's just not doing enough to keep us relevant. Thanks for having us. Texter. Hello, Faustians. Jeff from Marietta, Georgia. Beckley native, first time, long time. I'll keep this short and sweet. I've been a climb denier since 21. I don't deny that the team is in better condition than it was then. I don't deny that Neil inherited a historically bare cupboard. All I'm asking is, out of 60 games that he has coached by the end of this season, what is his best win? Follow-up question, has any West Virginia coach that has lasted 5 seasons had a best win that was worse than Neil's? I'll hang up and listen. Love the show. Texter, really disappointed by the loss. I was thinking about the Mountaineers' strength of schedule during the game. I assumed it wouldn't be nearly as formidable as it was at the start of the season. However, the source I found indicated that it's the 20th most difficult schedule as of a week ago. What does Spreads on Stats say about strength of schedule to this point? As far as I'm concerned, as long as West Virginia wins the next 2 against 2 of the weakest Big 12 teams, this has been a successful season overall with just a few question marks going forwards. JD in the Southern Coalfields.
I'll work on that.
Texter, Charlie from Midlothian, gas dealer. Above pictures show a West Virginia connection at our church's Rise Against Hunger meal packing Saturday morning. Ken and I have had matching West Virginia shoes. Tough night, guys. During the Metro News halftime grades, I was surprised no one gave the defense a grade of G instead of an F. Pics of Charlie there. He's got it. See him? There he is, Hoppy. Charlie's on the right.
What's a G grade?
Oh, is that lower than F? A, B, C, D, E, F, G. One lower than
I, incomplete.
Speaking of letters, kid on Monmouth, their center, 16 letters in his last name.
Really?
Yeah.
How'd you pronounce it?
Very awkwardly, consistently. Struggled with
Did you ever
that
have a
one.
name that you just really...
Yeah, that one.
That one?
I struggled the whole night.
Did you?
I struggled the whole night. I was hoping when I went up to their guy to say, hey, how do you pronounce this? They would go, oh, we just call him K. They would kind of, but no.
Yeah, they do that, yeah.
I don't know what the heck it was.
Did you ask him?
Yeah, I asked their guy. It still haunts me. I still can't say it. Anyway, make it make sense. How is it possible we can roll? Jeez. How is it possible that we can run a rollout concept to perfection 2 weeks in a row, and yet we completely abandon it the very next game? I don't remember Cole Taylor being targeted one time. Did I miss it? Is he invisible? Well, he caught a touchdown.
Pass.
I've defended Neil just about as many times as I'm going to both this season and his career. Defense looked absolutely beleaguered against basically a former walk-on receiver. We're going to go 8-4, and I couldn't be less enthused. Yay, Shreveport in December. We just can't keep doing this. Jordan in Vass, North Carolina. Hello, 3 guys. Help me understand why our offense was bleeding the clock in the third quarter when we're down 25. Many snaps came with 2 seconds on the play clock. What kind of game plan was this? Thanks, Jim in Morgantown. Well, the only thing I could think of is the fact that they wanted to keep the defense off the field, to be quite honest with you, because that wasn't going real well. Trying to shorten the game. Texter, I actually laughed out loud when the Oklahoma fans started chanting SEC. I can't wait to watch them be bottom dwellers in that conference for years. 2 things on that. They won't be bottom dwellers. They'll be up there. The other thing is, I was told by the Oklahoma guys that I was with, they chant SEC not because they're going to the SEC, but because they feel that the last 2 years they've gotten screwed on officiating calls. So
really?
Yeah, so every time there's a call that goes against them, they chant SEC, saying that the Big 12's screwing them.
Well, they're not screwing them enough. It'd be easier in basketball, wouldn't it? Or would it?
Be nice if the officials went like ejection of Dylan Gabriel for improper equipment. Can't play tonight, son. Texter, no need to overthink this one too much. Disappointed in the energy after the first drive. Felt like it was OU's night after their first score. Offense forced to go one-dimensional too early. Defense's ability to limit big play, the dagger. Got to be honest, even with the wins the next 2 weeks and a decent bowl game, hopefully upcoming, this season still seems a bit underwhelming. I still believe the climb and head coach Neil Brown, but I need some reassert. I apologize for all of my reading errors.
In fairness to you,
it didn't sleep.
You've been back and forth between time zones. You're sleep deprived. It was a bad loss. I'm going to make an excuse for you.
I appreciate that. But I need some reassurance after Saturday night. Looking forward to a bounce back against the Bearcats next week. Let's go, Greg, in Pittsburgh. Texter, in-game text. Thought to consider, at what point do we all pull a Hoppy? Causation, correlation. We talk about Neil obtaining the lowest amount of pros he didn't have. What about guys, especially on defense, we've not been able to retain? Most of the featured pros for defense shown in the stadium are all Tony Gibson guys. Do we look at a metric like keeping the current defensive coordinator? We've given up 550 yards of offense at the end of the third quarter. Our transfer portal inherits our mid-major group of 5 players, guys we wouldn't have offered originally coming out of high school. I can trust the climb, but the defense has got to go. Allen in Morgantown. Texter, with Green at 50% for the season, they've got to hit the portal next year. You simply can't win at this level, missing so many throws. Too many drive killers. And what's up with Rodney Gallagher? My man gets more cardio than Olivia Newton-John, and we still don't know if he can play. Chris from Cross Lanes. Like I said when I started these texts, I'm giving you the general theme. So if yours didn't get read, probably touching on a lot of this. Texter, lots to talk about how difficult the schedule was this year, but it didn't add up. We only have 1 win against a team with a winning record, and we've only played 3 that have a winning record currently. Oklahoma's a good team, not the end of the world to lose, but the way it happened, embarrassing. Not a great way for the last ever game at OU. Texter, the game just ended, very disappointing for everyone not named CJ or Beanie. However, it's not the time to start the fire everyone chants. We've got a home game against 3-7 Cincy, a game in Waco against a team that has quit. With that said, it seems like our safeties are constantly out of position, getting toasted every time by a semi-competent passing attack the last 2 years. Do you think that's a scheme issue or talent issue?
Again, Steve Dunlap did question the defense being out of position and question scheme and tactics last night. Again, I don't have the skill set to do that, but Dunlap was beside himself last night.
The players have to own some of that too.
What's that?
Players have to own some of that.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
What you don't know is if they've been told a million times, don't let Drake Stoops come down and break the inside,
right,
and you still don't let him break the inside.
Right.
I mean, I can't imagine that staff's over there saying, I don't know how to defend Drake Stoops. So at some point, as we've said a million times, you can scream about the coaches all you want, fine. At some point, guys have to play. Guys have to make plays. If you don't want Drake Stoops to get inside you, then get inside of him and make him go somewhere else.
Yeah, which is,
the player has to get inside and make him go somewhere else. At some point up front, you can't let that Oklahoma line keep whipping your ass. You got to make a play at some point. You just simply do.
I mean, the whole thing about the receiver breaking to the inside and being on the wrong shoulder is, I mean, that's, according to Dunlap, that's just fundamental, right? That's like week 1. So you're right. I mean, you would think that coaches coach that up and the guy's got to make a play. The other thing is that, boy, these next 2 games do loom very large. I know you're going to be favored in both of them, and maybe Baylor's quit. Cincinnati is, they got to win against Houston, but I mean, Cincinnati is, they got issues. So you got to finish here. You got to finish strong. You got to win these next 2.
And again, Cincinnati's second straight road game. Although the travel, I mean, it's not like BYU's was, but they were at Houston. Now they got to come to Morgantown. Yeah, you better get it turned around. Steve from Vegas, long text, so I abbreviated it. I get his point. This is not a heater, just the facts. Past 5 seasons have shown that Neil's history of being a great group of 5 coach occasionally beats a Power 5 with a winning record has carried over to his Power 5 record. I know that Hoppy said that Gordon Gee and Ren Baker like Brown, but I'm hoping that they put aside their personal feelings and look at the facts. West Virginia is in the proverbial rabbit hole with each year under Brown sinking deeper. If West Virginia had played Texas, Kansas, K-State, and Iowa State this year, they'd have a losing record again. Time to find a coach who can turn it around like Kansas, Louisville, etc. Thank you. Texter, Garrett in Alaska. The only thing that needs to be said about the game is flush it and move on. No spreads on stats, no textual healing, shortest episode in history. In other news, how about the domination of Pitt this year? Baseball sweep, women's basketball, football. Last thing, beat Marshall in soccer. Texter, Dave in the Poconos. Can't wait to hear what you clowns come up with to defend Neil Brown again. Year 5, still haven't been ranked a single week. Haven't beaten a team with a winning record. Completely embarrassing loss. Be sure, WV fans are unreasonable in our expectations. Dave in the Poconos. Texter, the 39-point beatdown was our first football game in Norman. I've been to all of the pre-2023 Big 12 venues, and I have to admit that the pregame extravaganza at Oklahoma is by far the most awe-inspiring spectacle I've ever seen. Fireworks, hype videos, light show, team entrance. Their marching band even played our fight song to welcome us. And even though we are hardly a rival of theirs, there wasn't an empty seat. And those fans were passionate and vocal like I've never experienced at Ames, Stillwater, Austin, or somewhere else. I, of course, was the best-dressed person in attendance. There he is, Joe Mock. Wait, see that, Brad? He has 3 guys shirt on in the stadium there.
That's great.
You know, Tony,
Thanks, Joe.
I am not going to miss getting boat raced in Norman, but I am going to miss having games of significance against a national power with that kind of fan turnout. I mean, that takes it to another level. I mean, you looked last night where Cincinnati's playing at Houston. I mean, nobody's there. You look at Central UCF, and I think they're going to be ultimately a tough out in this league. And I know the weather was bad, but there's not people there. So it's just, Brad, I'm going to miss that. No comment?
Next.
I think Brad's kind of saying, like, just give me a W.
Yeah, next.
W. John from Oklahoma City. I feel like Charlie Brown. I let Lucy or Oklahoma sucker me again with false hope that we could burn those wagon wheels on the prairie one time before they run off. So I get tickets and I go, and this happens. Chanting SEC is a dangerous thing. Be careful what you wish for. Texter. Ouch. Sometimes you get beat. Sometimes you get embarrassed. This was unfortunately the latter. I love WVU, but even I had to watch something else after a while. Just a painful weekend for WVU football and basketball. I did bet OU -12, so I guess there is that. My hope is that they are big, mad, and Cincinnati runs into a buzzsaw next week at Mountaineer Field. They were ready to go after losing the Houston game, so let's hope they're ready after this one, signed by Professor Vinny.
Well, I think the staff has done a good job of getting his team ready to play week to week, except for yesterday. So, and Neil Brown said, and again, I always appreciate his candor. He said they practiced well. He thought they were ready to go. And I mean, if anybody you don't know, but you would think he has a pretty good read on it, and it just wasn't.
I think that's why he was so clear in being upset, because the practices, everything was good, we're locked in, and then they go out there and they.
Yeah.
Texter, guys, it's a tough sports weekend. My son's team was upset in the first round of the Oklahoma high school football playoffs. Basketball team takes a quad 4 loss. Football team gave up approximately 6,000 yards. In fact, it was just reported that Drake Stoops still catching wide open slants. There was plenty of hurt and frustration yesterday, but what hurt most was the, oh, bless your heart looks I got from all of my Oklahoma friends.
Yes.
Look, I totally get the clamoring for the new coach because there's a ton of frustration that we haven't been ranked even 1 week under Neil. And last night, like numerous other occasions, we didn't even compete. But the more I look out at the college football landscape, I realize there are a lot of frustrated fan bases, many of them who used to be considered blue bloods. Many of these programs have fired coaches only to be more frustrated with their new coach. Like Neil, I'm pissed, but I also thank you guys for helping irrational fans like myself get a little perspective. on to 8-4. That's Matt in Tulsa. Randy from State College, feeling sorry like most in Mountaineer Nation this Sunday morning. So he wrote a song to the tune of Lionel Richie's Easy.
Is this AI or is this real?
It's real. No, it sounds funny, but I just can't stand the pain. Neil, I'm filled again with sorrow. Seems to me, Neil, you haven't done all you can. Perhaps I feel a little better tomorrow. Yeah, oh, that's why I'm queasy. I'm queasy on Sunday morning. That's why I'm queasy. I'm queasy on Sunday morning.
You know who else is queasy this morning?
Who's that?
Jimbo Fisher is queasy.
Actually, he's probably not queasy.
He's probably
that's true. Oh, well, okay. How about those who are going to pay him $75 million
to not
queasy?
come to work?
To not come to work.
$75 million. I mean, we don't have time to go off on an issue, but you won't worry about paying the quarterback some money?
Yeah,
You're going to give a dude $76 million to not come into work after you've already paid him $25 million?
Yeah, that's crazy, isn't it? That's crazy. That's the word that comes to mind for me is, and look, I'm a capitalist, but that's obscene.
It's probably irresponsible because the part of that, I don't know how the AD keeps his job.
Is that the guy that signed him to it, or didn't he?
No, that's the guy that brought him in.
No, he went to LSU, didn't he? Woodward went to LSU.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, that is right.
He high-stepped it to LSU.
That's the other problem. Come in and drop that contract, and the reports, I haven't dug into his contract, but the reports say there's no offset language in that.
Mm-mm.
That's a stunner.
Now, offset language means if he makes $25 million somewhere else, they don't have to give him that $25 million. But there's no offset in this. He can go he can go get another job for 20, and he gets 20 plus the 75,
or $1. He can
or
coach somewhere for $1 if he wants, or not coach and take in 75. Just how about an irresponsible contract?
Who does that deal? I mean, seriously. I mean, don't you? Maybe we operate under the assumption these are really bright people who understand business and how to make deals. I mean, who makes that deal? That is fiduciarily irresponsible.
That's what I just said. It's irresponsible.
100%.
Irresponsible contract.
It's fiduciary irresponsible.
Good for Jimbo and his agent for absolutely
Jimmy Sexton
schooling him. I mean, my gosh.
You talk about a school job. So what they do is this. This is what they do. It's all based upon emotion. You say, how do they approve these numbers? It's all based upon emotion. And Texas A&M has a big feel about them, and they felt they weren't winning enough games. So they said, we'll do whatever it takes to win because that's the most important thing. So Jimbo has a national championship under his belt at Florida State. Jimmy Sexton, who's the agent of all the big-time coaches, Nick Saban, the whole deal, he goes in there and just absolutely crushes them. And they go, yeah, we'll do that because all we want to do is win. And his record isn't as good as Kevin Sumlin.
Right.
And they just go. So this becomes those case studies in future 30 for 30s on ESPN where they say, how did this thing get so bizarre and crazy and out of whack? They'll go like, here's an example. Texas A&M once did this, and people go, no. Yeah. I've said it all along. As this sport has become professional, the agents who were professional agents came in early, and they absolutely just destroyed athletic directors who were not ready to handle it, and schools and board of governors who weren't ready to handle this world, and they destroy them in these contracts.
A lot of times you get worried that the fan base is going to go bananas on you as the person doing the hiring because you didn't get the guy you were supposed to get. You know, you don't see that in the NFL very often. NFL guys make bad hires too and give ridiculous contracts. But this clamoring to have to get somebody that you're not sure about has gone on to an unbelievable level. And that's allowed those agents to have leverage. If
Mel Tucker?
Yeah, right. That's another one. But he was already employed and you gave him all the money. I mean, it's just outrageous how this has happened.
And that's those obviously they got a ton of money, but also that 75 million, 76, whatever it is, those are, I think even donors must have some limits. That's also money that doesn't go to the labor.
The other thing is it speaks to how difficult it is. This is part of the discussion about everybody just wants to change coaches. It speaks to how difficult it is to find one coach and one staff that changes your entire fortunes overnight. Are there examples? Sure there are. This is a guy in Jimbo Fisher that had a national championship. That's part of why they gave him $95 million guarantee. Now, 5 years later, they're over it, and they're moving on. It's hard. I saw a respected national writer today start to put names out, as they do, for potential replacements. Cliff Kingsbury made the list. for a national guy that's as connected as everybody and knows everything that's happening, supposedly, and you put Cliff Kingsbury on the list of replacements. Are you friggin' kidding me? No, not even all due respect. Not even all due respect, man. How you put Cliff Kingsbury, and I know that's a writer's list and isn't necessarily a list. Are you kidding me? That speaks to this business.
Kind of crazy, isn't it?
Kind of crazy. Man, Jimbo's getting $75 million to not come into work.
Yeah. Three Guys Before the Game is brought to us by Lou Wendell Marine Sales.
$75 million.
Lou Wendell currently has an unbelievable
$750 to not come in here and do this.
You know, again, Brad, like you said, it also
Lou Wendell currently has a
sorry.
Three Guys special going on. It's the 2023 Avalon 2385 Entertainer. Top of the line tri-tune model. Can be used for water adventure, water skiing, tubing, and entertaining with family and friends. It's an unbelievable craft as you take a look for those of you that are watching. And right now for the Three Guys special at $89,774. That's $89,774. Comes with the Honda 150 motor and trailer. Check it out. But when you do go to Lou Wendell, if you're interested, tell them you're a Three Guys listener. Hoppy, you were saying.
Oh, no, I just, again, like Brad said, I mean, it also speaks to, I'm a firm believer in every change is an opportunity to improve. I believe that as a philosophy, but it doesn't mean you will. And there are countless examples across the sports spectrum of how a change did not improve. And also that coaches' fortunes are directly linked to the quality of players that you have. And I think there's in this profession, you know, like Tony, it's like any profession. There are really very few people who are elite. I mean, by elite, I mean in the top 1%. There's a 1% for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
And there aren't that many. There just aren't. Because that's the bell curve of life. The bell curve of life applies to coaching as well. I mean, how many truly elite, brilliant, genius coaches are there who can draw up things and do everything you have to do now as a head coach and be wildly successful and be good with the fans and get all the players? I mean, it's
less than 10.
Fewer than 10?
10, there might be one right now.
Yeah. I was going to say, like,
maybe two. Kirby Smart's winning at that level with some other things. Maybe two right now.
Mm-hmm.
There might be two. Who else is it?
Mm-hmm. And what do they have behind them?
They got money, but Texas A&M has money.
Yeah.
Michigan State's got money. You know, so
yeah.
I don't think that's, and I don't think my intent is not to make excuses for Neil Brown, even though I do want him to succeed and I want him to remain the head coach of WVU. I do, on record on that. It's just that it is, boy, it's also very hard to start over. I mean, when you start over now with NIL, with the transfer, when you start over, you don't start from where you were. Okay,
right.
You start by going back.
Right.
You stay, yeah, and just to what your point is saying, like everyone says, well, just go to the portal and get more players. If you make a coaching change, you lose a lot of players. Those players can all take off because you just changed your coach.
Yeah, there's a new. I mean, do you find
free highway, right?
I would rather double down on Neil Brown and Brad, as you've mentioned a million times. Get your NIL money and get that thing together.
Yep, get that fixed, get it in order, put some money in there, and move forward.
Yeah.
Go keep the guys that you had that have produced, and then go find some more. Move forward. Keep doing what you're doing.
It always comes down to the acronym MBP. You need more better players. Plain and simple. You need to have more better players. How's the best way to go get more better players? That's the decision that ultimately.
And I think so. If you want to niche that down to this team, I think this team has.
Yes,
I think this roster has more better players. Are you where you ultimately want to go? Of course not, but that's a process there. And we've mentioned that there's whatever there is, 6 or 7 freshmen or redshirt freshmen that have really made an impact this year. So I think you do have more better players. I think you have done a better job in the portal with a Beanie Bishop, a Mulba, a Durajaye, a Lockhart that's performing. I think you have had some hits that are coming to fruition in the transfer portal. So keep those guys, and part of keeping those guys means you better find that money. You've got to go out and get the money to retain, because I will continue to say that part of what has put this program behind where it probably would be in its development is the retention of the guys. You have brought pros in and had them in your uniform playing for you, and a lot of them have left. And some of that's money related, some of that's fluky, but some of that's been directed things that probably don't come back up again in your lifetime. You've got to keep the players, and now you can do that with dollars. So go get the dollars and retain this roster and keep building.
Three guys brought to us by the good folks at Go-Mart. Saw the president of Go-Mart at the game yesterday in Norman, and told him I was very excited about Tuesday and Saturday triple points. He said he was happy that I was happy. Go get a card, he said. I said, I got a card.
Did he travel with any Slim Jims or Reese's or anything like that?
He wasn't holding.
Was not packing?
He wasn't packing that I knew of. I know he might have beef jerky or something in his
road trip, probably in the States. He's got it in his car, I would think, but probably just not on the plane.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Correct. Texter, last episode I texted critical of Neil Brown and was in turn criticized by the senator for the timing of my criticism. Well, Senator, last night was why you need to hear some critical comments when you thought everything was all great. We all know what's coming next. We have a large enough sample size, and all three of you know it. Neil's coaching tenure, best described as milquetoast. I'm a big fan of all of you. I'm old enough to remember when Hoppy questioned, if not when, in regards to Dana ever being able to compete for a Big 12 title. Well, Hoppy, I know you'll never ask that question about Neil because he's a nice guy and Dana wasn't or something like that. Oh, well, on to next week.
Who's that from?
No name. Texter.
So criticize after a 37-7 win, then criticize after tonight. That was my point. Try and enjoy the wins. Those of you that are just so bummed out after wins and you start questioning, I don't get it. You want to send a critical email after last night? Totally good. Understood.
Morning, fellas. Dougie Fresh here from Murrells Inlet, South Carolina. I want to talk something positive. Taking my daughter to her first Steeler game today, we decided to combo it with a Pens game and a victory last night, but by good luck, we noticed West Virginia's women's team playing at Pitt, so we took that game in too.
Oh.
Yeah, there's Meg Bulger. She was at the game, and with Dougie Fresh's daughter, Mark Kellogg, is excellent. These ladies are very well coached. Ren, you did well. The future's bright for women's hoops. Several pictures there. So they're there at the Pens game, and then I think there's a cold glass of beer coming up next, and then the sign here to close things off. Thumbs down on Pitt.
Is that Legos?
It looks like it has a Lego effect on that, yeah. Texter, as a football school, I mean soccer, I'm very excited to watch our soon-to-be world champ Mountaineers on Brad's favorite viewing medium today, ESPN+. After that, I'm looking forward to picking up my mauve Faustian bargain shirt and Hoppy Hanky episode 800 store when I begin holiday shopping, signed by Ben in Chicago. Once again, the store's opening November 16th, this Thursday, our holiday release.
Do you have a Faustian bargain shirt?
I don't know. I don't think that'll go as well as thanks for having us. So thanks for having us.
Probably not.
Yeah.
I mean, but the Faust thing has got a little traction.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, it has. Three guys. The over-under for the Rutgers-Iowa game was a historic low of 27.5. Curious if Hoppy or Brad took the under. Final score was 22-0 Rutger.
Oh, Luke Rousey hit it.
Luke did, or 22-0 Iowa. Bell ring. Hoppy hoping for a strong finish for the Mountaineers. I love this clown show. Three guys, GI Doc. So Luke hit it?
Luke hit it.
You didn't do anything with it, Brad?
No. 3-0 at the half. Live total of 16.5. Could have gone under the pregame total and hit that live total 16.5 over and hit both ways.
Okay, now that I took the one under and hit with Iowa, which was just like mic drop. I'm done. Now every time Iowa plays and the over under is like 27. Hey Hoppy, you in on this? No man, I'm out.
What you should do is become a niche better strictly on Iowa. Like you should be all Iowa all the time on whatever they're into. So that OC gets fired, right, Brad? They're not going to average.
They've already announced it.
They already did announce
he's
it.
not
It will not be retained.
He didn't get the 27 points per game.
That's why I said yesterday on the show. It almost feels as if Kirk Ferentz, after they moved his son Brian, is really. Watch this. Watch how we're going to win now. 3-0 at the half against Rutgers.
Brad theorized last night that Iowa's offense just don't play offense.
Don't play.
Just punt.
I don't even think they're going out there. Rutgers gets shut out.
Punt on third down.
Congratulations to Rutgers. They still collect that $90 million this year for putting up 0.
Oh, at least we can end with a laugh between the tears. 3 guys before the game returns on Thursday. We'll preview West Virginia and Cincinnati. We'll also have another Mountaineer basketball game completed by them. We'll also have the Mountaineer soccer.
next?
Jacksonville State, the Fighting Rich Rodriguez's come in. Not sure if Rich will be in for the game or not. Maybe
Probably not.
Probably. He was off this week. This would have been the week. He was off last week.
That would have been perfect, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, Jacksonville State Tuesday.
Hey, I need to still get tickets for that.
For Coach Spikers?
Yeah.
We got you. Take care of you. 3 guys. You going to the Drexel game? Center?
Yes.
Good. 3 guys brought to us by Comax Business Systems, keeping West Virginia's business data safe, secure, and efficient for 25 years. By Gomart. Get that rewards card by going to the website gomart.com, or you can just download their app. Save on food, fuel, and so much more. Triple points Tuesday and Saturday. By Lou Wendell Marine Sales in St. Albans, they sell family fun. Visit LouWendellMarineSales.com. And by the Conley CPA Group, providing value beyond the numbers. We are done. Episode 504 of 3 Guys Before the Game. Thanks for being with us. Our producer, Luke Rousey. We return Thursday. Stay well, be good, and God bless Rutgers.